Hi everyone, it's Sue Plum here to share a scrapbooking process video with you. Now today's video that I am sharing is the first layout that I have created with the Kitaholic Kits January kit. And as I explained in my unboxing video, that due to my recent personal circumstances, I'm actually running a little bit behind with this kit. And unfortunately, I don't have as many things made from this kit yet as I would have liked, but I'm going to do my best to catch up and get some content out for you using this fabulous kit. So for today's layout, I'm actually scrapping a couple of photos of my twin boys, and they are pictured with their little tablets that they recently saved up and bought for themselves. So I started my layout off with a sheet of white cardstock and one of the Kaisercraft paints that are included in this month's mixed media add-on kit. And the one that I was using there is the marine blue, which I actually mixed with some white acrylic paint from my stash. And I just used my brayer to roll some onto the cardstock just to give me sort of a rough pale blue border. And then I'm going to the pattern papers from the kit, and I was just going through choosing some papers that I wanted to use. Now the first one that I was drawn to is that beautiful blue and white floral print there, and I do believe, thank you Tina, that is indeed a protea that's printed on there. So what I was doing was cutting out just a square of that, which I was going to place over the top of the painted background that I'd already done, just to sort of make the focal point for my page and give me a bit of a background for where my photos were going to go. I didn't want it exactly dead center on the page. If you know anything about me, I like to do things that are a little bit off center. I do, however, like to keep things straight on the page. So I do use a T-square to affix my anchor points, my papers to the page. And you will see in a minute that when I grab out my T-square, I've actually got a new T-square because I recently snapped my other one by shoving it too roughly into my craft tub. So, and this new one isn't quite sitting flat. Unfortunately, it was a little bit bent when it came in the post. And so it's not quite sitting flat. So I do sort of fluff and fiddle around with it a little bit, and it'll probably be a few uses before it flattens out entirely. So I was putting that square of pattern paper on the page, and I wanted to anchor it slightly up towards the top of the page a bit more than down the bottom. Now, over the top of that, I was actually cutting some pieces of some of the other pattern papers. So there are quite a few Vicky Bouton papers in this month's kit, which I absolutely adore. And there are also some Heidi Swap papers from the old school collection. So that piece of wood grain that I'm working with there was actually a piece that I cut from one of the Heidi Swap ones. And that one that you can see there with that bold geometric print on it is also one of the Heidi Swap papers. So I just cut a couple of strips off just to place across the top of that blue print paper. And I was just looking and fiddling with where I was going to place my photos on the page. Again, you can see that I have sort of angled them slightly off center because I don't really like to have things too symmetrical on my page. So fiddling around with those, and I also was drawn to that print on one of the Vicky Bouton papers that's got the green sort of ink or paint splatters on it. But I didn't want to chop into the entire sheet just for the sake of a little piece. So I actually used the branding strip there because it's actually got that printed on the back of it. So I thought I better make use of the branding strip. So I've cut off that narrow piece of the branding strip that I was going to run that horizontally across near the bottom of the page there. And I was also cutting into one of the Vicky Bouton cut apart papers because I was looking for a journal spot there that I was going to put my journaling on. So you can see there's a little bit of shuffling and a little bit of fiddling that goes along with this page. As I said, I did have some personal circumstances. My mum passed away just before Christmas, And this is the first layout that I had completed in about 6 weeks, and I have to say I did feel a bit rusty when I was doing this. I was a little bit lost, and I was sort of shuffling things around on the page, and I was finding it a bit sort of difficult to find my groove. I know I did get up and walk away from the page a couple of times, and you can see my video just jumped there because that was one of those moments I sort of had to get up and walk away from my desk. And I think it will just take me a little bit of time to find my creative groove again. So with my photos, I had matted them both there with white cardstock, and I am just grabbing a bit of scrap cardboard to pop on the back of those, which just helps lift them up from the page, and it helps bring them forward to the viewer's eye and make them, you know, the central point on the page. So I know other people tend to use craft foam or pop dots or whatever you might like to use for this purpose. I tend to just cut up the pizza boxes that my kits and orders come in and recycle those by popping the cardboard on the back of my photos. So you can see that I did have that square design with the paint on the background page and then the pattern paper, and I've cut through that squareness of the design by placing those 2 horizontal paper strips across. I've then got my 2 photos, and I'm just fiddling around with the thin piece, which was that branding strip from one of the Vicky Bouton papers. And I've got one piece that I'm running across the bottom there, and then I decided to use the little extra piece at the top there. So I didn't want that going to waste after I'd cut it off. And then I was assessing what else I was going to put on this page. So I did choose the chipboard title there, which is cut by Corbett Creations, and the word is focused. Now, I thought that this was a very appropriate title for this page because my boys did save long and hard to buy themselves these tablets. They saved birthday money, they saved Christmas money, they saved money from doing chores, and they were so very proud of themselves that they were able to buy these devices. So, yes, it did require focus over a long period of time. So what I decided to do with that chipboard title is I again reached for that white acrylic paint that I've got there, and I just used a small flat brush just to paint the title white because I really did want it to pop from the page because I was putting it over that dark blue paper there and I wanted it to be noticeable. So yeah, painted the title, and then I'm just going to set the title aside to dry, and you will see that I actually do go back and add more detail to the title. I did think I was going to leave it just simply white and plain, but you know, as luck would have it, I looked at it and decided that it needed something a little bit extra, so I actually went back and added some extra detail to it. Okay, so in addition to the chipboard title, some of the other things that I used on this page were the Vicky Bouton Storyteller cardstock stickers that you can see there on the right hand side. I used a couple of different ones. There's quite a lot of really sweet little phrase stickers on there. Oops, what was I doing here? That's right, I was adding some gauze just in behind my photos before I stuck my photos down on the page, just to bring a bit of texture to the page, and you know how much I love my gauze. Now, if you don't have any gauze or muslin or anything like that, you can simply use some cotton and just add some messy, loose cotton thread because it adds a nice textural element to the page. And I'm also going to stick down my journal tag there, which I just tucked in under the bottom of the photos, added my journaling, which was fairly simple. One of the things that I did get recently, which I'm quite excited about, is I managed to pick up, well, my brother-in-law did for me, a typewriter. an old manual typewriter in excellent condition, which I haven't actually set up on my desk yet and used for a layout, but I will use that fairly shortly, I would say. So I might give you a little sneaky peek at some stage of my bargain typewriter that I picked up from a local buy and sell. So, but for now, yeah, I just went ahead and I hand wrote my journaling on there just using a felt pen. So coming back now, I have got that chipboard title has dried off, so I've just stuck that on the page, going in with some of the Vicky Booten Storyteller phrase stickers. There's also a few really sweet icons on there. There's a few flowers and hearts and leaves and labels and all sorts of things. So you can see that I've stuck that large heart sticker just up at the top there. The reason I chose that one is because it has got that bit of black on it, and you will note that in the photos of my boys there, that the black screens of their tablets are quite a dominant sort of feature on the page. And I just felt like I wanted to add something else dark just to help tie in with the dark colour in the photo. I'm all about colour coordination, if you didn't know that already. You can probably see that one of my boys has actually got his school shirt on in the photo, which is a light blue colour. So that was why I went with that light blue paint on the background. What else did I pop on there? So you can see that little arrow sticker that I stuck to point towards my journaling. I actually popped a little bit of foam tape behind that just to help raise that up from the page and draw attention to the journaling. Now, the next thing that I'm going with here is the wood veneer stars that are in the kit, and I absolutely love these stars. I love stars, I love wood veneer, so these were always going to be a winner for me. And you can see that I am placing those around the photo to form a visual triangle. So I've got one up, a large one up at the top left of my photo. I've got some in the bottom right, and then I've got some down in the center and at the bottom of my page there. And I've just created 3 little clusters where if you drew a line between those 3 clusters, they would form a triangle around the focal point, which is the photos on my page. This is something that I always tend to do on my pages, and I think it helps make your page balanced. So besides the wood veneer stars that I'm popping on there, another item in the kit this month was a small package of sequins. And whilst I do intend at some stage to make a shaker pocket, because I absolutely love the shaker pockets that people make, I didn't get around to it this time, and I just decided to use some of the blue sequins from the package loose. So I just used my fine line bottle there that's got Scotch tacky glue in it, and I used my nail art wax pencil there just to pick up the sequins and pop them down on the page. Now, I didn't really have anywhere particular I was putting these sequins, but you can see that I've popped them up in the left corner of the page, and then I've popped them down sort of probably about 1/3 to 1/2 along the right hand side of the page. And this is to create a secondary flow across my page. They sort of look like they've been scattered diagonally, and it helped draw the viewer's eye through. Now, finally, what I did with that title was I went back and grabbed my watercolor pencils, because I just wanted to drag in a little bit of the blue and green color. Now, there was only a slight bit of green, which was on that branding strip that I used, but I just scribbled a little bit of detail on there with my watercolor pencils, and then I went back with a water brush and just blended it out just to sort of give a bit of like an ombre effect on the title. And I'm really happy with how that came out, and it really helped the title to pop more off the page. Now, other than that, I did a little bit of stamping with one of my roller stamps that's just got some little chevron arrows on it. I also ended up stamping the date on the page, but other than that, that was pretty much all I did for this one. Now, as I said, thanks for bearing with me. It was a little bit stop-start. Thanks for getting this far in with me, and bear with me. I'll get some more content out as soon as I can. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.